This is Matthew Cratter from Bitcoin University, and today I wanted to talk about whether Bitcoin IRAs are safe. For those of you outside the US, IRA just stands for Individual Retirement Account, and they come in many different shapes and forms and related forms, including Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, 401ks, and other retirement plans. I'm not going to be going into the tax and retirement specifics of each of these, but I'm going to be talking about them in a more general sense and how they relate to the custody of your Bitcoin, which I think is extremely important, as we're going to see. None of this is investment advice or financial advice or tax advice or legal advice, so be sure to consult with a professional before making any moves. This video was inspired by a question from L. Clark from yesterday, and his question was, when it comes to a potential clampdown on Bitcoin, we've been talking about Argentina and its central bank, for example, going after Bitcoin. In the US, when it comes to a potential clampdown on Bitcoin, what about BTC held in US-based retirement accounts, for example, I Trust Capital, where my wife and I are both quote-unquote whole coiners within our respective Roth IRA accounts, or BlackRock institutional customers trading Bitcoin on the Aladdin platform? The average Fidelity customer can trade through Fidelity Crypto. I realize that customers do not hold the actual keys in these scenarios, but if the US government bans crypto, how do you see this unfold in the aforementioned examples? So make no mistake about it, in a severe crisis, the US government and central bankers will do whatever is necessary to protect themselves, their position, and the government, even if that involves stealing private property from American citizens and residents. This has happened before, and it will probably happen again, unfortunately. In 1933, under Executive Order 6102, as we talked about, I believe it was yesterday, President Roosevelt stole the private property, in other words, the physical gold of millions of Americans. And the legislative branch, Congress, went along with it. The Supreme Court went along with it. And there was no recourse for everyday Americans. This was Executive Order 6102, which I'll link to in the description notes below. We also talked about a little bit in yesterday's video about how the U.S. Constitution is a shitcoin. In a severe crisis, the U.S. government and central bankers will do whatever is necessary to protect themselves, even if that involves stealing private property. So this means that you're taking a huge risk by allowing someone else to custody your Bitcoin. The old saying is not your keys, not your coins, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. As we said, the U.S. government already confiscated everyone's gold in 1933. So do you really think that they wouldn't do it again with Bitcoin if they needed to? If you're enjoying this video so far, I just ask you to hit that subscribe button and hit the like button. So when the U.S. government confiscated gold, they paid everyone $20.67 per troy ounce. Then they immediately devalued the U.S. dollar, so that gold now cost $35 per troy ounce. And so what happened was, when you needed the gold the most to protect your life savings and your financial security, it was no longer available. A lot of people had their gold in bank vaults, and so this was a forced proceeding. There was some going door to door, but less of that. But the penalties were quite high. They included a fine of something like $10,000, which was a fortune back then, as well as time in prison. And so most people went along with the law. So I could see a similar move where they pay you, where the U.S. government pays you a quote-unquote fair price for your Bitcoin. Maybe they pay you $30,000 per Bitcoin and claim that it's just market manipulation that's responsible for Bitcoin trading at $150,000 on P2P exchanges or on exchanges. And they just decide to underpay you in the same way that they did with physical gold in 1933. Something similar is happening right now in Argentina, where there's the official Argentine peso US dollar exchange rate, and it's different from where you can actually exchange money, as Sebastian here pointed out, that the 7 million Argentine pesos you see in the chart is inaccurate because it's calculated with the official exchange rate, that no one can buy at that exchange rate. The actual price is 14 million Argentine pesos. So governments are famous about picking whatever numbers they want to make things work out for them, if not for you. So when we're evaluating Bitcoin retirement accounts, we need to keep in mind not your keys, not your Bitcoin, because if something can be confiscated, it probably will be when things get bad enough. Here's I Trust Capital, and we can learn from their FAQ section that they utilize a third-party custodian called Fortress Trust to custody client assets. So you're not holding your own keys if you go through I Trust Capital. The same is true for Bitcoin IRA. Your digital assets are stored with BitGo Trust, which is powered by BitGo Inc.'s technology. largest processor of on-chain Bitcoin transactions, etc., etc. But you're not holding your own keys. This is true for the Swan Bitcoin IRA as well, where assets are held at Prime Trust. And it's also true for Fidelity, where your assets are held at Fidelity Digital Assets. That's who's actually holding your Bitcoin and who has your keys. These are all subpar solutions in my opinion, but it really does depend on how bad you think things are going to get. Best way to hold Bitcoin in an IRA, in my opinion, again, this is not financial or tax advice, is using a multi-sig solution where you yourself or your family hold the majority of the keys. So for example, you could have a 2 out of 3 multi-sig situation where you hold 2 keys, the company holds 1 key, the retirement company that's basically administering your retirement account, and they cannot take your Bitcoin even if the government tells them to, because they only have 1 key and it's 2 out of 3 keys that are required to move the Bitcoin. I talk more about multisig in this video here, which I'll link to in the description notes below. But if you're using multisig like this and you have the majority of keys, if the government comes to your retirement company that's administering your retirement account, it's impossible for them, for the company or for the government or for anyone else to freeze or seize your Bitcoin. I'm not being paid or otherwise compensated by the following company, but I do like the way this looks, the Unchained IRA, where you get to save your Bitcoin in an IRA. You could do a Roth or a traditional, and you still keep control of your keys because it's a multi-sig setup. I believe this is a 2 out of 3 multi-sig, where you would hold 2 keys and Unchained would hold the 3rd key. No third-party risk, no single points of failure, as you have with these other solutions where there's an underlying custodian. So none of these solutions I like as much as Unchained and services like it that may exist where you're using multi-sig. If you want to learn more about Unchained's IRA product, I'll link to this video as well in the description notes below. As I said at the beginning, retirement accounts make good financial sense in normal times, but you'll have to decide for yourself whether the next decade or 2 will indeed be normal times. The beginning of the 2020 decade has already been quite weird, and there have been a lot of fractures and cracks showing in the financial system and in the political system as well. Now, using Unchained is a great solution, this multi-sig solution we've been talking about, but the downside is you may be leaking privacy to the company itself, as well as your email provider, your ISP when you access this service, your browser. Even if you're using Proton Mail or Tor or a VPN, you still may end up leaking privacy to the VPN company, which may be keeping logs. Proton Mail, Tor, these are all possible privacy leaks. Now, does Unchained itself do KYC, know your customer on every customer? Probably, but I'm not sure. So if you've been able to set up an anonymous account with Unchained where you haven't had to give any personal information besides perhaps a burner email and a burner phone number, let me know in the comments, but only if you can do so without doxing yourself. Now, is using Unchained with your full identity a problem, or could it become one in the future? Yes, it's definitely possible. It really just depends on how bearish you are on your country of residence and how bad you expect things to get. I would say for some people, it may at least hypothetically make sense for them to cash out their IRAs. This was part of the question, pay the very steep penalties and move the proceeds into anonymous Bitcoin. Again, that's just for some people, and it's really a hypothetical. You have to look at your own financial and political situation. It's not financial or tax or legal advice. And again, in normal times, retirement accounts do make a lot of sense. You'll just have to decide for yourself whether we're going to be living in normal times. If you've enjoyed this video and want to go deeper into these topics, you can also check out my paid course where I cover things like buying anonymous Bitcoin, coin joining, Bitcoin inheritance and estate planning solutions. I cover all of them in the ultimate guide to Bitcoin, as well as some other topics, including a little bit more about how to protect your Bitcoin from malicious software, how to run your own node, how to set up your own hardware wallet with your own Bitcoin full node, and things like this. But I think you'll especially enjoy the sections on buying anonymous Bitcoin and Bitcoin inheritance and estate planning solutions if you enjoyed this video. And if you end up subscribing to that, signing up for that, be sure to use the coupon code YT99 to get $26 off and to get the best price. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe and like buttons. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.